Hi, it's Brad Gannon from the Brad and Theo Real Estate Team. Today, I want to talk to you about using subject to sale, using it as a condition in an offer and whether it's a viable strategy in the greater Vancouver real estate market. So, subject to sale, what is it? Is it good for you? Is it going to work? Often I find clients come to us and assume like they can make an offer subject to sale. And again, we've been doing this 20 years, and I would say 70, 80% of the time, not really in Vancouver, Burnaby. I could actually probably count on one hand how many subject sales I did in Vancouver, Burnaby in the first 15 years of our career. That being said, we did do them a lot more in other parts of the lower mainland or other parts of BC. They're a lot more common. And with the softening, more balanced, perhaps even buyer-friendly market that we started experiencing last year and are seeing now in early 2026, subject to sale is definitely a viable strategy. But is it the right strategy for you? Let's get into that and let's talk about the pros and cons. So first off, what is a subject to sale? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. You make an offer in a home, but your final condition on that is going to be selling your own home so that you don't end up owning two properties. You will generally go to that home, do your inspection, do your financing, remove all your other clauses, and then have a month, 2 months, 3 months. It's negotiable. You'll agree on a period that you'll have to try to sell your home, and you have to discuss with your realtor what you think is feasible, what you think you're going to need, and then it's a negotiation. The seller usually inserts a clause that protects them, and it gives somewhere between a 24 to a 72-hour notice clause where if they get a different offer, firm offer in their home, that they will give notice to you that now you have to make a final decision. And if your home's sold, that's where you might actually have to let it go and the strategy failed. I will say that happens sometimes, but I don't like to be afraid of that or view that as a huge negative to the strategy. It might happen, but if you didn't try, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So to me, that's not a downside of using this as a strategy. But let's look first at the real pros of the subject sale and who is really good for. And the main advantage of it is that it takes stress out of the equation. So the hardest part of any move isn't necessarily finding the right property, but can be timing the financing and the move and the transition between two properties. So you've got to sell your current place and buy your next one and have the dates line up. When you buy first, you go into selling your home knowing you have to match those dates and you kind of retain control of the situation. You don't end up having been committed to buying something without real and your bank saying, well, it's that's still subject to the sale. So you don't really have a firm financing clause. And then if in a soft market, you could get maybe a nasty surprise if no offers come in on your home and get stuck holding the bag, having to try to arrange bridge or perhaps not being able to close at all on the purchase agreement that you've made. So that can be the danger. That's the risk that some buyers are face. And to take that stress out of the equation, they go with the subject to sale. So I do think that is one of the main advantages, or who it can be suitable, is for clients that have a low stress tolerance and clients that don't want to worry about that at all. Now, there's another type of buyer, and today we're focused on it's a strategy for buyers that it's suitable for, and that's those that are looking for a more niche or specific type of property. Perhaps you're looking at a specific neighborhood, school catchment, or a specific type of property that doesn't come up all that often. So it's not like you can just go list your house and when it sells, that property will be there for you to buy. It's maybe not even on the market right now. And experience or research shows that it comes up once or twice a year or something like that. So if it's a specific or more rare type of property, you've got to wait for it to come on the market. But when it does, you want to take action so you can use the subject to sale and then give yourself time to get your place ready. And that's why I think it can be really, and sometimes we find downsizers as well have very particular needs or wants. And so a subject to sale might be advantageous for them. However, a lot of time downsizers are in the position of having a little more equity, or because they're taking money off the table, they can actually carry the financing of the two properties as ones. So in that case, they might not want to consider the subject of sale. That leads us into the con, and I think the main one is that you're not always going to get the best deal when you put a subject to sale in. A seller's not going to take it as seriously as an offer that has a 1 week financing clause that can show that they're financially approved. It's like telling a seller, well, we could afford to buy it if we can sell our place, but they don't know how saleable your place is. And they aren't always inclined to give you a month, 2 months, 3 months extra time. And often then it's going to result in maybe a longer closing for the seller or a period of uncertainty that they might not want to have to deal with. Um, and I just can't help but personally, I'm really biased to wanting to always get the best deal, blame it on the Irish Scottish genes, but I don't want to have to overpay for anything. So I'm really like to negotiate hard and get the best price possible for my clients. But that doesn't, I've actually had as a realtor had to learn to almost fight that instinct sometimes because saving 10, 20,000 in the big picture, it might not be nearly as important as having a safe, stress-free transaction. So I've really come to appreciate subject to sale as a strategy and have a more positive viewpoint about it. And it's kind of like I try to remind myself, just because a sweater is on sale and looks like a great deal, doesn't mean it's going to look good on you. Maybe you're best to not buy it. So getting the very best deal, the very best price, not always the most important thing. It's the transaction as a whole and whether you're getting into the right home and doing it without risk can be golden, can be very, very valuable. So who is a subject sales strategy as a buyer good for? Well, let's just review. If you have very specific needs, if you're looking for a very specific type of property, if you have a low stress tolerance, subject sale can be a great tool. And the good news is sellers out there are considering them. I'm not saying all sellers are, and that brings us to the con. They can be hard to get the seller to accept. So you might make an offer subject to sale and the seller just flat out rejects us, say, nope, we're not looking for that at this time, especially if it's a new listing. So that's probably, in my view, the biggest challenge to it. They just trying to get the seller to accept it all. And then if you to get the seller to accept it, you usually have to kind of pay up and make a little bit stronger financial or higher price offer to get them to accept it. So that would be the con. If you are if you're a buyer or you're looking to upsize or downsize and you're seeing a lot of choice out there, like, yeah, I like that place, there's a ton. Like, for example, there's a lot of townhomes in certain parts of town right now, a lot of half duplexes. There's a lot of condos out there. Maybe you're saying, well, a lot of these would be suitable for me. Well, there's inventory out there. You don't have to stress the buying part so much. So just sell first, go out there and be in the driver's seat as a buyer. Don't worry about buying first with the subject to sale. So it's two different scenarios for different homeowners. Again, it's not a one solution, one size fits all uh, uh, discussion. So is a subject to sale going to be right for you and your family? Well, it depends. It's going to depend who you are, what you're looking for, what your situation is, what your budget is, what your financing needs or constraints are. So if you want to talk through your specific situation, whether it's really recommendable for you and your timeline, just reach out. Me or Theo will be happy to discuss it. No pressure, no obligation, just the straight goods. That's what we bring. That's what we love to do. Brad from the Brad and Theo team. Talk to you next time.